Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Alugo. Thanks so much for being here Friday, November 7th. We're getting ready for Jaguars and Texans in Houston. Jaguars looking to sweep the Texans for the first time since 2017. What a fun year that was for Jaguars fans. But yeah, trying to complete the sweep. It's kind of crazy that the Jaguars are playing the Texans for the second time this year, and they haven't played the Colts or the Titans at all so far this year. Both of those games, all four of those games against the Colts and the Titans are late season games for the Jaguars. Interesting the way the schedule worked out. But the Jaguars, this is a must-win game in my opinion because the Texans are down. They're starting quarterback. This is an opportunity to get to 6-3, an opportunity to get closer to the Indianapolis Colts in the division, keep pace with the Colts in the division, who have a tougher road ahead. It's a must-win game because the Jaguars believe that they can win the division, and their goal internally is to win the division. If your goal is to win the division, this is a must-win game. Point blank, period. Now, is it possible you could still win the division if you lose this game? Yes. Will it make it very difficult, especially if the Colts beat the Falcons on Sunday? Yeah. So I think it's a must-win game. And now we have some must-win matchups for this Jaguars and what I believe is a must-win game. We're going to dive into it. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out GenJag.com, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Every order comes with one of these little holographic Jaggy stickers. Absolutely love them. GenJag.com. Really appreciate y'all's support. So we're going to get into matchups. And these are matchups that I believe have a strong chance to have a major impact on the game. And, it's impossible to predict exactly how a game will go. The flow, the big plays, the game-changing moments, right? But I believe these are the matchups that have the highest chance of being super important towards the outcome of this game. So we're going to dive into it. And I look at it, and I want to start on offense. Anton Harrison, he needs to play well versus Will Anderson, and he's done that throughout his career. And his play on the right side of the Jaguars' offensive line, both as a run blocker and pass protector, in my opinion, has been huge for the Jaguars this year. It hasn't been perfect every game, and I think the entire offensive line had its struggles against the Seahawks and the Rams. But outside of that, you've seen Anton Harrison play really, really clean football for most of the year, and he's been getting the job done in pass protection, which was his calling card. But also as a run blocker, he's really doing a good job with the effort in the run blocking department, the assignment sound football in the run blocking department. And I've really noticed his block angling, like the awareness to know, okay, the run is supposed to go to, my inside foot or wherever it may be, where he needs to position himself to make sure that the edge player he's trying to block or whoever it may be is in a disadvantageous situation and position to make a play. And I think that that's been a big part of his development as a run blocker this year. Will Anderson's a great player. They've gone up against each other a lot. I would say Anton Harrison has really gotten the better of Will Anderson, especially in pass pro. I think they've kind of stalemated a good bit in the run game. Might even give the advantage to Will Anderson, but I think that Anton versus Will Anderson it's a great matchup, and you can't let Will Anderson defeat you. You could say the same thing about Danielle Hunter. I think Anderson's a better player. I think he's a more important player. He's also dealt with injury this week. He was limited in practice on Thursday. I imagine he'll play for the Texans. Obviously, if not, that this matchup goes away. But we've also seen the Jaguars be able to execute in pass protection with Walker Little not being at his best. And Walker Little hasn't been at his best for a lot of the year, but they do need Anton Harrison to be at his best, in my opinion, to be able to really give Trevor Lawrence some time in this game. On the other side of the ball, Nico Collins is really the most dangerous offensive weapon that the Texans have. He's certainly not the only one, and we'll talk about some other things here, but Buster Brown and Greg Newsome on the outside, hopefully not in a lot of man situations against Nico Collins, but in zone match situations, when they get one-on-one with Nico Collins, they have to be able to make plays. And the Jaguars this year in general have struggled to stop the opposing team's best offensive weapon, whether that be Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith-Njigba. The list goes on, right? Buster Brown, I think, is playing good ball. I think Greg Newsome's playing good ball as well. They need to do a good job against Nico Collins, and it's not all on them, but they are going to have the biggest job to do against Nico Collins. And there's talented receivers throughout this Texans roster, but Nico's the one you can't let him kill you. I also think, when you look at Jarian Jones probably starting, Jordan Lewis dealing with the shoulder injury, Jarian Jones in the slot, he has to, in my opinion, have a positive overall impact. He doesn't need to be perfect, but what Jarian Jones brings to the field is athleticism, physicality, feistiness. Can he bring all those, not have any major issues, not have like multiple pass interference calls, not have a big pass interference call in a big moment, and just bring it and bring that energy that we know him for? If he can do that against Christian Kirk, against Jalen Knoll, that's going to be really big for the Jaguars. Nose is itching. Josh Hines-Allen on that defensive side of the ball versus Ariante Ursary. I know a lot of folks have been giving Josh Hines-Allen flack this year. I really don't know why. I do know why. It's because he doesn't have like a ton of sacks, but he has had such a big impact. And you just look at his game against the Houston Texans in week 3 as one of those games where he only had half a sack, right? But he made the game sealing play by getting his hand on the football as C.J. Stroud was trying to release it, popped it up. Antonio Johnson got under it, and that's game, basically. Josh Hines-Allen has been playing great football. I want to see him break the all-time sack record for the Jaguars here this week. He has a great opportunity to do that against Ariante Ursary. If he's not able to get pressure, where is it going to come from consistently? That's the problem with the Jaguars pass rush right now. You're hopeful Trayvon Walker gets it going. Titus Howard might not play, but even if Titus Howard doesn't play at right tackle, where Trayvon Walker aligns a lot at the left defensive end going up against the right tackle, Blake Fisher is a capable player as well. So I don't know if Trayvon's going to show out. Like, he hasn't really shown out a lot since his wrist injury happened. He had some big games early on, but since that wrist injury hasn't done much. So I think a lot of it's on Josh Hines-Allen. Eric Armstead needs to do some things, and he's been a consistent volume shooter for the Jaguars so far this year. What I mean by that is he's not like making a massive impact down to down, but he's able to make splash plays, get into the backfield enough to make an impact for the Jaguars on a week-to-week basis. So Josh Hines-Allen, when Davis Mills drops back to pass, you got to make a big impact, and I think he will. Like I said, had a big game against the Texans last time. I love the way he defends the run. That's one thing you can definitely say about Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. Great run defenders. And I think the Jaguars will do a good job in the run defense department. Now, on the other side of the ball, well, let's stick with my last defensive one and then switch back to the offensive side of the ball. My last defensive one is Anthony Campanile and his plan for how to defend Dalton Schultz, who isn't a dynamic tight end, but he's a good, talented tight end. He's a productive player. The Jaguars, over the last 4 games against the Chiefs, the Raiders obviously last week, and the Seahawks and Rams in between, have allowed an average of over 100 yards per game to opposing tight ends. That's an insane stat. Insane. The Chiefs, Travis Kelce had a game against the Jags. The Seahawks had multiple guys having impressive performances against the Jags. So did the Rams, and then obviously Brock Bowers went off, but also Michael Mayer had some catches against the Jags. So he's got to have a better plan for his defense to deal with the opposing tight end. They got to. And, guys have to execute, sure, but you got to have a different plan. Something's got to change when it comes to dealing with tight ends, because it hasn't mattered if it's a Brock Bowers ultimate weapon X type of tight end, or a, more of a balanced tight end, or even more of a Y tight end. They've been eaten against the Jaguars, and Dalton Schultz can do that. So they've got to figure that out, in my opinion. On offense, I think Parker Washington needs to play well versus whoever is in the slot. Whether that be Jalen Petrie, who hasn't practiced yet this week, I don't believe, or MJ Stewart, who I think would man the slot a lot if Petrie can't play. Both of those guys can, get the job done, but Parker Washington can get the job done too. And he's got to, in my opinion, have a pretty big game for the Jaguars. And he doesn't have to haul in 8 of 9 targets like he did last week for 90 yards. But when his number is called, I think he needs to be reliable for them, because he is the one who has the most rapport with Trevor Lawrence. Now, you might have De'Ami Brown back. Again, still does not have more rapport with Trevor Lawrence than Parker Washington does. You have Jacoby, who I think is going to be a great addition for the Jaguars. You have Tim Patrick back. But again, Parker is the one who I think has the most rapport. And you also look at the fact that he probably has a better matchup on paper than Jacoby Myers versus Derek Stingley, or Jacoby Myers versus Kamari Lassiter, or Tim Patrick or De'Ami Brown versus one of those two guys. Parker probably needs to have himself a pretty good game for the Jaguars passing offense to kind of execute at a high level. And speaking of that, not only in the run blocking department, but also on screens and quick game stuff, Johnny Munt, Quentin Morris, if he's out there a lot, Tim Patrick, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, block your asses off. You've got to be able to block in a big way, in my opinion. That's going to be a big matchup, just those perimeter blocking assignments in the run game and in the quick passing game. I think that could be really big for the Jaguars in this one. Physical defense they're going up against. And then finally, the biggest matchup every single week, the mental battle, pre-snap, Jaguars versus Jaguars. Can they get it together and stop putting themselves behind the chains, stop negating big plays on the offensive side of the ball, all those things? If they can do a lot of these things, if they can win a lot of these matchups, I think that they could potentially have themselves a really impressive outing. If not, it's going to be a dogfight against the Houston Texans, who are 3-5 without their starting quarterback. Let me know what y'all are looking at in the comment section below. And if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.